I felt brain fog, sluggishness, laziness, energy levels were down. When you go to a traditional doctor tells you, oh, I know your symptoms exactly. And the only thing the doctor can tell you is based on your blood test, you're not ill. There must be something that can optimize me as a non-ill person who wants to feel better about himself.
The co-founder and CEO of Bioniq, a health tech company specializing in personalized healthcare solutions. Vadim Fedotov.
We're not a wonder pill. 70% of your health is nutrition.
It's such an obvious issue. And you're like, how has nobody thought about this? Why the hell are we taking the same thing?
Attracting high-profile investors like Cristiano Ronaldo, drawn by its potential to optimize performance and well-being.
82% of the women that come to us are deficient in iron while taking iron vitamins. We want to educate the dosage is important, the ingredient is important, and the way you take it is important.
It's what's happening inside, and the only way a lot of people are going to understand it is if they see the data and the numbers.
And then still not enough.
And it's still not enough for some. You said that you made a $15 million mistake. Can you walk me through that?
Yeah, that was, I made way more mistakes, much more, like 15 million sounds cheap.
What could you tell me that you wish you would have known before, but you know now? What don't they tell us?
Okay, so.
So firstly, I want to say thank you so much for coming on to this podcast, because a lot of people recommended that I do speak to you. And I know why. Because when I did do my homework for my podcast, like I always do, I watched several of yours. Mike's podcast is one. And I realized something about you, that you have this sense of excitement when you're talking about Bioniq or the gap in the market that you're really trying to educate people on, right? So I know that you're very passionate about the educational part of it and you love health, but there's something about caring so much and coming in with such excitement and drive that it reminds me so much of myself in a sense where I'm just like, how is nobody talking about this? So I'm so glad. I might ask you some questions that were asked just for the benefit of my audience so they know. But at first I want to just say I'm impressed with everything that you've done and I'm so glad to have you here.
Thank you. Mm-hmm. One thing that I will never forget when I started the journey, and I did a corporate beforehand, when I became an entrepreneur and talking to other founders, was one thing that was told, it was like, as a founder, you have to say the founding story every single day, several times a day, for several years, with the exact same excitement every single time. And I was listening to this, I'm this corporate guy, I'm like working 10 plus years corporate. I'm like, how can you say the same thing over and over again and have the same excitement as the first time? And here I'm sitting with you 6-7 years later, and it gives me still goosebumps. It's the still excitement, because if you find your place, if you find your niche, if you find maybe, it's not your calling, because I would call it too bigly, but if there's a belief system inside of you and it just wants to get out, and it just, as you said, it just breaks my head how this is 2025 very, very soon. And we're still don't understand that the things that we take should not be the same for all. Mm-hmm. Completely disregarding the industry. Just you and I are different. And there's 8 billion people, and they all are different. So why is everybody trying to take the same thing?
You know, I said this to you when we were off camera. I mean, it's interesting because it's such an obvious issue, yet I don't know anybody else who's really tackled it. And you're like, how has nobody thought about this? Like, why am I this big and I'm taking the exact same supplements as Tracy, who's half my size? Yeah. If she has, a deficiency of so-and-so, fish oil or whatever,
sure.
Why the hell are we taking the same thing? Yeah. It's ridiculous, right? So I totally see how that came about. And what's more fascinating is how you tried to tackle that problem. So I want to go back to what the problem is and how was that a problem for you first before you decided to say, you know what, I'm gonna tackle this thing now.
So I think there's several answers to this question. One thing that is very, very common is the companies that become big quick are the companies that tackle something that everybody in the market thinks already exists. So what you just described, well, why is nobody else doing personal supplements based on the blood markers that people are deficient in? You're deficient in something, you take something, or you're a little bit more deficient, you take a little bit more. Over time, you see if you become less deficient, you take less. Makes sense, right? Mm-hmm. So when I tell people about when I started Bioniq 2017, 18, looking into it, and 19 launching it, they're like, oh, this exists already. I'm like, oh, really? Does it? Where? And they're like, oh, it doesn't. I'm like, well, I've been researching for 2 years and I couldn't find it. If it exists, I would love it, because I'm the founder who wanted to scratch his own itch. Mm-hmm. I wanted to find a solution for my problem. My problem was I'm 30-something years old, former professional athlete, know my things about recovery, about sports. I think I know about my way around nutrition. I had the resources, I had big corporate jobs, and I felt brain fog, sluggishness, laziness, energy levels were down. I wouldn't want to work out in the evening anymore. In the weekends, I'm staying at home. I'm like, how is this possible? Somebody, my resource, my knowledge, to be so bad condition. And the scratch my own itch part was when you go to a traditional doctor tells you, oh, I know your symptoms exactly, do the blood test. You do the blood test, expect the answer from the traditional doctor to tell you what to change in your life to get rid of the symptoms. And the only thing the doctor can tell you is, based on your blood test, you're not ill. And that response based on your blood test is you're not ill, then for me, of course, led to traditional medicine only cures the ones that are sick already. There's no solution in the market. Let me research what's out there. And while researching what's out there, I was like, there must be something that can optimize me as a non-ill person who wants to feel better about himself, who wants to feel more energy, who wants to have clarity, who wants to have cognitive capabilities. And when going to this, as you said, you expect something to be there right away. Well, there's not. I'm like, okay, maybe it's not in the free market. You go to professional teams. You go to the professional teams who pay tens of millions of dollars to each of their players. And you're like, what do you do with your players? They're like, well, when we buy them, when we sign them, we do a checkup that they're healthy. And if they're healthy, we're good enough, we're signing them for 5 years. I'm like, well, are you checking them constantly? Like, no. We only check on them once we sign them. And I'm like, so there is no feedback loop. You don't look after how they develop, how over time they change. They're like, that's not part of the industry. This is 2017, right? And I'm like, how is this possible that there's so much importance around us, so much innovation, so much data, and all this data goes past the people, right? The people who are actually trying to improve or trying to perform. And this is where I put a little bit so I was, prior to Bioniq, I was CEO for Groupon for Eastern Europe. So I was exposed to pre-IPO, post-IPO companies. I worked for one of the largest media holdings that did corporate ventures for them. So I was very familiar how to look into startups and DEX. I was like, okay, maybe there's something in the US. Because you always believe, again, if you're not in Silicon Valley, you think Silicon Valley is 30 years ahead. So I'm like, I guarantee you somebody's already solving the issue of optimizing not ill people in the Silicon Valley. So what do they do 2017, 2018? And back then it was 23andMe. So it's DNA testing. And I'm like, oh my God, it's so interesting. It's such an incredible thing. And then you look at DNA testing, you realize DNA testing is chronic, so it doesn't change over time. So I can tell you what's wrong with you, but I can't tell you if your lifestyle changes what's wrong with you in a better way. So you can't track DNA because it stays the same, right? Then I'm like, okay, there's companies who do supplements, but they put them in a bag where you just take regular supplements and put it in a bag. And then you look at the retention rates, which basically means how many people after they buy it the first time buy it the second time. And after the first purchase, 80% of the people never buy it again.
Because they can buy it from anywhere.
It's not a personalized company. It's I call it a packaging company. They give you a bag and put stuff in it. It's like there's no IP in there. And the third company that kind of blew my mind, because I was like, oh my God, there's some interest there. It was a company that did at-home blood tests. Every 3 months, people could do at-home blood tests. And I'm like, oh my God, retention is incredible. People are really engaged. But what do you do once you get the results? And they didn't do anything with it. So I'm like, so people want to know more about themselves. People would like to have personalized solutions if they're really personalized, and they want to do it on a continuous level. If somebody can come up with a solution how to combine all those things, that could be the next big thing. But I'm not a doctor, and I'm not pretending to be one. So while researching all this is where, I got fortunate. I met a neuroscientist in Switzerland who did clinical trials for Olympic athletes over 7 years to showcase how he can improve cognitive physical function of professional Olympic athletes without causing any doping issues through optimizing micronutrient levels. Micronutrient levels is vitamins and microelements. And what he was able to show over 7 years, 954 people, that if you optimize micronutrient levels, Olympic athletes are 10 days per year less sick. And 10 days per year less sick, maybe to some sounds, not as much for Olympic athletes who are in the peak of their performance. They're 24 years, 25 years old. It's incredible. And because they're less sick, their organisms, instead of fighting diseases, can focus on actually improving. So they, on standardized tests, were able to showcase 6.9% improvement level. And on cognitive functions, was memory and speed, was up to 1.5 times. And I'm sitting there as a former athlete. I'm like, you can tell me if I take supplements that are personalized to me, I can improve physical capabilities by 7%. as an Olympic athlete, like it's insane, like it's unheard of, because for 1% people, like 1% is $100,000 more in income. 2% is a couple million. Like I play basketball, like every little detail counted. And I'm like, what could you do with regular people? He's like, 35 to 50% easily.
It's crazy.
And I'm sitting there, I'm like, I think this is it. And I'm like, again, back to this moment, I'm like, this might be it. But at the same time, who am I? I'm this corporate guy sitting in his corner office thinking I'm, God's gift to all those processes that we build in bureaucracy and the thing. And I'm like, okay, what do you do? And the thing that I did that's one of the things that I read some books on, and I didn't quit my day job just yet. Before, like a lot of founders, they just throw everything away. I wanted to do a trial.
Yeah.
So I did a trial with 40 people, and the way I chose the people were not my close friends. The people were either former employees or friends of friends. Okay. So they didn't owe me anything. So I got 40 people on it. 40 people did the blood test, took the supplements, did the blood test again, saw the results, and then I came to them. I'm like, would you like to continue? And majority said yes, which is expected. Like, are you ready to pay for it? And that question, are you ready to pay for it? That was the real indicator of if I have something or not. Mm-hmm. And one of those people that was in that trial group was head of performance for the UFC out of the US. Mm. He asked me, this is November 2018, to fly out to Vegas to meet with the senior vice president of performance. I flew in there, I remember that. I'm sitting there, and the guy said, we've never seen a product like this before in the world. That what you're doing does not exist.
My God. But hold on, take me back a second. That doctor, a neuroscientist, he was doing it.
So he was doing clinical trials.
Okay.
He was doing clinical trials for 7 years for 954 people. And I can go back to what we...
But why didn't he do anything about it? He missed the boat, right?
No, he didn't. No, he was then...
He became your partner.
He became my partner. Okay. So no, he didn't miss the boat at all. He did not know what he had on the grand scheme of things. Because he, as a scientist, he knows how to do clinical trials. Me, as a business person, I know how to scale things.
Correct.
The moment we realize what we have is so special is when I quit my day job, launched a company in January 2019 in London, and went to the neuroscientist and said, okay, as of today, you're doing 150 blood markers, you're doing DNA testing, you're doing stool, microbiome, you're doing hair. This costs around $3,000 per person. This is completely unscalable. What can we do to reduce the parameters that we need to actually still have a high quality product? And he's like, well, over time, the more data we get, the more we can reduce the data we need in the beginning, because we can predict what we need in the future. So basically, data analysis will be able to simulate what you and I have with a minimal set of data. And this is when the journey started, where I bought out this intellectual property, I bought out clinical trials, set up the company, we became partners, and started that journey. And a part of the journey that led us for 6 years, where we have now the largest proprietary database for blood testing for micronutrients, continuous levels.
Where?
In the world.
Oof.
Yeah. We've just this year we did over 9 million people. Just this year, over 1.1 million people have filled in their health goals with Bioniq.
No way.
Just
That's
this year.
Amazing.
Yeah. So we did over 237,000 formulas. So formula is so the way Bioniq is, because Bioniq is not a pill form. Bioniq is a Swiss-made granule that absorbs the micronutrients that you need. So the ingredients and the dosages you need are in that granule. So it's a scoop a day, which covers what your body needs, which is because it's why we use that as high quality and high absorption levels. So we did 237,000 of those. So as of today, this is the largest database of proprietary blood markers for continuous testing for micronutrients.
And more or less, how many supplements are in that scoop?
Okay, so
per person, like
Bioniq,
roughly.
so the way, imagine the following. So we produce and manufacture in Switzerland, there's 120 components. And out of 120 components, based on the blood testing, we will select the ones that have the highest priority for you, on average around 48.
48 on average
48.
per person. So that's how much people are actually deficient. Because,
Yes.
I mean, I had so much to think when I was watching your podcast, because one, you said something about the pill itself that they fill in, the pill itself raises your insulin, spikes your insulin.
So there's this thing what people don't understand is, if you want to, I'm supportive of supplements.
Yeah.
I have been taking supplements all my life. If you take supplements, that means you as a person make a decision almost every day to do something good for your health. Love it. Please do it. If you do the supplement and you believe the supplement works, I can prove to you it will work by at least 7%. It's clinically proven that a placebo effect of you believing in something will improve your blood level by 7%. I can give you sugar. If you believe it's vitamin D, your vitamin D will grow by 7%, clinically proven. That's the power of your mind.
Of your mind.
So we got that covered. So please do. My problem is when I now see people who know that they probably need more than one supplement because they have more deficiency, who have probably access to their Facebook and WhatsApp and Instagram friends who tell them, hey, try this and try that. That's great for you. And then they end up sitting there with 20 pills. What you need to understand is the way the pill works is the pill is made out of starch. And starch is there for when you swallow it to raise your insulin level for that to be better absorbed. So when people say, I'm trying to be on a low carb diet, but have 20 pills in them, you might as well
And
just put the
spiky.
you might as well put the vitamins in a croissant and have that. And the pill form itself is either gelatin, which is pork bone, or if it's halal, it's still starch. And so when people do this and they show those pictures and all those biohackers, a very, very famous biohackers sitting around there, I'm like, look at my stack. I'm like, this is great. I see 60 grams of carbs. Like I see insulin spikes. I see a third of those vitamins blocking each other, so neither of them is going to be absorbed.
Cancel each other out.
They cancel each other out. And all those things where you want to do something good, keep it placebo, take 2 pills. Love it. Take 2 pills of omega-3. Take 2 pills of zinc, magnesium before sleep. You will not regret it. But if you want to actually achieve something, if you want to have 82% of the women that come to us are deficient in iron while taking iron vitamins. So you're a woman, you've been taking vitamins, iron deficiency vitamins for years. You come to us and you're still suboptimal. So what are you doing?
What does that tell you?
What's the point? It means what? A, the vitamins probably don't work. B, the dosage most likely is too low. C, you've been wasting money, time, and carbs for years into your body. And that's a little bit when you talk about the educational part. That's what we're going through. So we want to educate, the dosage is important, the ingredient is important, and the way you take it in is important. So what they developed in Switzerland, and the reason why this even exists, this is like, you can't make this up. A guy in pharma, working in pharma in Switzerland, 32 years now ago, because it was 25 years, 32 years ago, worked in pharma and realized when people take pills, there's a toxicity effect of the pill before it becomes absorbed. So he realized it gets worse first before it gets better. And sometimes the worst part is worse than the better part is better. So actually net negative. And he's like, I don't want to give something to people to make things worse. So he's like, let me find a solution. So he created a patent technology, which is a granule, which is a prebiotic that absorbs the vitamins inside of it. So you take a prebiotic and it has a slow release in your system, and then your body absorbs it over 12 hours. No spikes, no toxicity, no blockage. That's how it works. That's how he came up. He was like, I just don't want to give toxicity to people who are trying to heal themselves. And that was the baseline. That was the baseline for everything. When you create a product, I can have the best product in the world, but if you can't take it, if I tell you, hey, this is your 48 pills, you'll take it once, you'll take it twice. On the weekends, you'll forget, you'll travel,
No
you
one will
won't
be
take
consistent on
It's
that.
impossible.
I mean, it's happened to me, and I know it's happened to loads of people. My husband, we get all these supplements. We do it for a week. Forget about it. I would never be consistent with that. It's so annoying to the point where I started hating supplements. I'm like, I don't need it. I eat well, I train well, I sleep well, I work with circadian rhythm. I don't need it. But truth is, we do. And my husband and I, by the way, we're 100% getting on Bioniq. My husband has been telling me to do it like weeks ago. I'm like, wait, I want to have this conversation.
Of course, and
I really want to talk to you about it.
Let me see if it's real.
Let me see if it's true. I'm going to ask him some tough questions. No, but really, we're going to do it 100%. And we want to do the pro one, not
Of course, the blood test one, yes.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's get on that subject. So you said in one of your podcasts, you talked about how you have so much data, or you just said it now as well, how you have so much data that even if you don't want to pay for the blood test per se, it could kind of, take your information and your data and then, and there's like an 82%, you said, effective rate. So talk to me about that.
So when we met with a neuroscientist, this is 17, 18, right? And he said, there's a critical point of data collection that if we surpass that, we can start predicting. And the way we did is because from day one, before we onboard you as a client, you fill in a questionnaire. And this is not like those cute questionnaires.
What's your
out there.
favorite color?
Yeah. But the reason why I make this up is, can you imagine the following? There's only one company in the world, which is Bioniq, that in the questionnaire about your personal health goals in relates to supplementation asks the person about the height and weight. No other company in the world even asks you about your height and weight. And the reason for that is because they're going to give you a pill, and the pill doesn't care what your height or weight is, because it's not going to change. Because we can actually microdose whatever ingredients you need, we actually care about your height and weight, so we can adjust the dosages. So our question is 50 questions from your demographic, lifestyle, medical issues, family medical history, and your goals. So imagine there's 50 to 55 questions you fill in. So we've been doing this since 2019 as a company, research beforehand for 7 years, and we accumulated by now probably over 20 million of those, right? So we did just 8.1 just this year of those health goal specific guard. Now, in parallel while we did this, for the first 5 years, every single person filling the questionnaire also did a blood test. So what you're starting to map. There's a mapping going on in the system. And the way we have a patent pending algorithm where the proprietary data is being stacked against each other. So if tomorrow you come in and you fill in a 55 questionnaire, in-depth questionnaire, and you fill in your health goals, and then the algorithm will compare you to previously 10, 20, 30, hundreds of people who are similar to you, who had a similar question, similar answers, and he will be able to predict and simulate what kind of blood test results you would have, given on your demographic, given based on your lifestyle, given based on your diet, given based on your activity level, given based on your medical history, given based on your family's medical history.
But is that a fair assumption to make?
Of course, it's not perfect. This is the reason why the accuracy is 82%.
Yeah.
So this is the whole point. What we're saying is,
but it's good enough if you don't want to pay the high price for the blood test.
So very interestingly, and I love that question is one of our advisory board members, head of Google Health from the New York office. He worked on the stealth for Google Health to produce this. He came in. He's like, because I was like, how can we do it better? He's like, Vadim, you guys are best in the market with your basic product. The basic product allows people to experience personalization on the highest level anybody else. If somebody wants to go on 100% accuracy level, let them do the blood test. Let them upload the blood test. But for the entry product, you want to make it accessible as possible, accuracy is as high as possible, but at the same time, you need to be able to scale it. So what you're asking for is for you. You want the 100% product, great. But what I tell people is, funny enough, is, especially if you're male, because men have hard times getting through the blood test part.
Why?
I'll explain to you. Get on Bioniq, go first, fill in the questionnaire, get your supplements, start taking personal supplements, and then when you're ready for your blood test, do your blood test. Now comes the part with the men. So as a woman, you're like, I want to do a blood test, I'll start tomorrow. Look at me right now. I want to know what's wrong with me right now. I want to know my deficiencies right now. I want to fight and get everything better today. As a guy,
You're scared.
Wait, I need to stop drinking. I need to lose some weight. I haven't been to the gym enough. I don't want to see right now what's going on inside of me. The most typical men, I'm talking about 90% of male clients, when you tell them to do a blood test, they'll do the blood test between 2 to 4 months later. It's the barrier to overstep to find out as a guy. And I'm speaking all about myself too.
That's
you don't want to know what's inside of you. You'll deal with it once you're there. As a woman, is preventiveness, anti-aging, longevity, like fix it now. As a guy, it's complete opposite. So this is what we experience as a business. And I used to like, hey, I want this product. I'm like, when we as a company used to chase the person, and the guys would just push back, and I'm like, you know what? This I read a couple of years ago. I'm like, let the guys go. Don't look. Just they'll come when they're ready. And there might be in a couple of years. I have people who knew about us 5 years ago and just joined me a month ago, and they're like, okay, I'm now in the state of mind where I'm open enough to understand what's wrong with me, and I'm willing to take a tackle. But everybody's different. But for males, it's just a very.
So what percentage of people are women?
So 48%. So it's
48% are women.
48% are women. Yeah.
Interesting.
So for the blood test part, for the blood test is 48% women.
What about
for the questionnaire part? It's more women. It's probably closer to almost like 56% is women.
And in terms of how many people are consuming your product?
On average, it's more women because the entry product's much bigger. Yeah.
I didn't know that actually. I would have thought men are more into well, no, maybe no. That doesn't make sense actually. You're right, because I'm also assuming gym guys, they like really are into their supplements. So it's not the same though. It's not just for gym people.
Again, our biggest market is the US. So 80% of our consumers are in the US. And if you look at the demographics, it's mostly females. It's 35, 40 plus women who are like, I don't care what my age says. I feel great. I look great. I want to feel even better. Like that's kind of like the approach there. Like this is like, I got my life in order, got my food in order, got my training in order. I want to get my supplements in order. That's kind of like that. That's kind of like the approach. That's the energy that we get.
That's very cool. I want to ask you a few questions on that. So there's an argument that says when you give people money, they can make better choices. And most of the time, it's not a lack of education, but it's the real pandemic is that people are poor. And because they're poor, they buy shit product or bad food, or they don't even try to even go into that space. Do you think it's a money issue, or do you think it's an education issue?
It's 100% not a money issue, and I explained why. We are not going after the people who don't take supplements. If you don't take supplements,
you're not going to try to convince them.
We're not going to convince you. There's $252 billion spent a year on supplements. I want to talk to those people who have, on average, a need for 48 supplements, take, on average, 20 different ones. Hey, I know our product is $75 a month for the entry product, Bioniq Go, or $200 for Bioniq Pro. Is it cheap? No. It's a premium product, Swiss-made, personalized to you. But if you're going to have 20 supplements at your kitchen counter, how many of them are you taking regularly? How many of them actually have any cost to you? And how much can you afford? So Bioniq Go, it's $75. It's $2.50 a day. So for $2.50 a day, you get Swiss-made supplements. Good for you. Now, the question is the market big enough for this? Well, there's companies out there that are valued at several $1 billion that sell for $100 a month dry powdered vegetable powder that is not personalized to you, that have the label doesn't show 70% of the ingredients that's in there. So people out there paying $100, $110 every single month for years, and they're being advertised by the most famous podcasters in the world for a product. And I'm very happy about that because this company educated the market that a daily supplement is necessary for support. And $110 apparently is a good price point for that. Now, here comes Bioniq and says, you know what? Daily supplement is good. It's even better if it's personalized, and it's even better if it's Swiss-made, and it's even better if you actually know what's on the label and what you're actually drinking every day. So from my perspective is we have a very clear focus. Do you supplement today? Great. How many supplements do you take? If you tell me you take 2 supplements, you take vitamin C when you feel getting sick, and you take magnesium when you have a hard time sleeping, I'm like, please continue. We're not there yet. This is not the conversation you want to have. But when you're the person who's like, oh, I heard I should take Q10, and this person told me I should take vitamin K with my vitamin D, and I started trying to do zinc for my hair, but can I take it with B9 at the same time, or does it block B12? That's the conversation I want to have. Because when I come into your
That's the education part.
That's the education
They're
part.
there, but they just don't really understand.
Yeah, and then they're like, oh my God, my friend just said she had a great experience on this. Well, did she have a great experience on this, or did she just had, 10 days of sports in a row and she has a dopamine spike, or she met a boyfriend and that's why she feels good about herself? Like, what's the real reason why she feels good about herself? We have 20-something-year-old girls coming in who are trying to get hormone boosters because they read somewhere online, I feel so much better in my skin because some 40-year-old woman wrote something about some hormone boosters. They're like, can you put that in my formula? I'm like, no, this will change the whole perception. This is not the way it works. But people buy things of recommendations from people who have complete different situations.
From a sponsored ad on Instagram nowadays.
That's okay. The best part is that starts working less and less now. I love the fact. That if you probably notice, there's people getting smarter just because somebody promotes something, they're not even sure they take it themselves.
Correct.
So this is I like that part. But what I'm trying to say is, even if you see somebody who looks like you, we had the case. It was in London. We had a product event. There was 2 26-year-old twins, fitness models, guys, lived together, worked out together, ate together, did the blood test, complete different blood tests. And you're like, So if he recommends to take, I want to be like him. Well, you're not him. You're different. People are just different, and you need to understand that part. So I think this is the educational part. We need to educate that everybody is different, your goals are different. And then the second part is, there's 2 things that if people come to me, do supplements work? I'm like, If you buy them off the shelf, most likely not. And by that, I don't mean that they're bad for you. They're probably not as good for you, because the rule of thumb is if a supplement is being taken by a child, the child should not have any negative effect. So if a 3-year-old eats a vitamin D pill, it should probably run away with life. Life should continue. Well, that means that if you take it, you probably will have no impact from it. If I take it, my body won't even register it, right? So, okay, that's number one. Number two, should you take supplements for more than 3 months? No, you shouldn't. Our grandparents used to tell us, don't take anything for more than 3 months, your body gets used to it. Of course, if you take the same thing. So the way Bioniq works is every 3 months, you either update your questionnaire because your lifestyle changes, your stress levels changes, your weight might have changed, your goals might have changed, or you do the new blood test, because the blood test will be like, hey, your mercury spiked, your uric acid levels have spiked. Did you change your diet? What has it just, like, your hormone levels are down. Are you in a workout phase? Are you preparing for a race? What's going on? Like, your body changes. So our product evolves together with the needs of the person. Regular supplements, they're the same supplements. So we tell people, can you get all the supplementation from food? Technically, yes. In our history of the company, with tens of million people filling in and hundreds of thousands blood tests, we've seen 2 people who had ideal blood tests. That means 2 people out of hundreds of thousands of people were able to get all the supplementation they needed from food. So it's technically possible. It's just very, very hard. Number one. Number two, do they work if I buy them? Or I used to buy them, didn't work for you. Of course they didn't work for you. Dosage was wrong. Thirdly, you should adjust them. Don't keep blindly taking the same thing. Your body is very smart. The reason that, you know how food allergies work. Your highest food allergy is to the thing that you take the most. Like if you eat eggs every day and you do an allergy test, it will show you
100%.
You're most likely allergic to eggs. Well, no, you just eat a lot, so your body's building up resistance to it.
Yeah.
That's normal.
Totally see that. You said that, because there's a lot of supplements that cancel each other out, so you should be taking them together, or one you should take at night versus after food, before food. How do you ensure that scoop is going to turn on its effect at night when I need the magnesium to turn on at night, and then the vitamin C would switch on in the morning?
So that's the patent technology. So that's the reason. This is the uniqueness of what they built with the prebiotic, the guar. Because it's a slow release, it goes into your body, and the signal of the body comes when it needs. So that's what they built. This is the reason why I'm so excited about this technology. And they've never been able to market it correctly.
That's crazy.
Because the researchers. Again, I think you probably understand me. There's people who know how to create things. I'm not one of those. There's people who can explain and talk about it. I'm a storyteller and a brand builder. So now there's technology out there. So the granules go throughout your body and being released at the moment you need it. So I can take my magnesium in the morning, not fall asleep, and have a great night's sleep because it's been released at the moment my body needs it.
Because it's in microdoses?
It's in a microdosage.
Is that why it works that way?
That's so the way. It's not because of the microdosage. Okay. The dose, if the dose would be bigger, it would still be a slow release. The way it's absorbed in the prebiotic and it was released in the prebiotic, the release time is the important part.
Interesting. Okay.
The dosage can be whatever the dosage is. But the release time is important.
Wow. That's fascinating, by the way. I'm very interested in this thing. You said that you made a $15 million mistake. And that mistake was by overly selling Bioniq as this magic pill at some point in time. Can you walk me through that?
Yeah, that was, I made way more mistakes, much more. The 15 minutes sounds cheap. I think that was, oh, wow. No, this.
But anything else that comes to mind also share. No. Because, the podcast is called What They Don't Tell Us. And I'm always keen to kind of get answers from my guests on things that could help other people, not make those mistakes.
I'm here to share. Listen, I would love somebody would have told me all the stuff that I went through beforehand. But podcast was not a thing, not as big of a thing back then. One of the things was we started a company. We didn't have the critical data yet, so we were very, very science focused. We were very in the depth. We were very hand-holding. Was very like a white glove treatment. Like the medical director would drive to people's homes, and while they're doing the blood test, explain to them what they're doing and why they're doing it for. Like our retention rates was up, like unheard of. Like 90% plus people would continue because it was like a personal. Because like me and you, like I would have a podcast with every single new client. Like that's the relation we would build. So we were building it up. And one of the largest VCs, a multi-billionaire, had a VC fund. And I knew that he's a health enthusiast. And I met with his director of investments. And director of investments, you guys are perfect. We love the founder. We love the aspect. You're in the right sector. This is super early, 2019, 20. we'd love to do your Series A. We'd love to lead your first round. And we're like, everything what you guys are doing is perfectly. There's going to be an investment committee. Leave it with us. It's not going to be hard. And we'll take it from there. So I'm like, oh, this is incredible. This is amazing. So I go back. I'm like super happy, super excited. This is back then when I was still naive, thinking that every good meeting with a VC would lead to an investment. Now, look at me now, 250 meetings later. No, that's not the case. I keep telling people, the VCs are the most excited at the first meeting. And then every single meeting, they're finding a reason to be less excited. Every single meeting.
Poking holes at every little thing, of course.
So in the beginning, it's like a first date. Oh my God, Mom, I met. No. Yeah, that's kind of like the start. So we go back. I'm like, oh my God, this is it. We have the runway. We can build a global company. Everything is perfect. They have the money. They've built unicorns before that. Several unicorns in their portfolio. I'm like, this is like if this guy invests, this is like the sign of approve. A couple days go by, get a phone call. Yeah, we're not investing. I'm like, what do you mean? It's like, yeah, we didn't even make it to the IC. I'm like, what do you mean to make it to IC? You said it's a walk in the park. You said you got it. He's like, well, you didn't tell me that our principal is one of your clients. I'm like, well, it's anonymized, and my team didn't tell me, and my team didn't know that I'm speaking that. My team probably didn't even know who it is because that's not their job. They're like, well, apparently, our principal, after receiving his product, made a discovery call with the client manager. And there's a team of 12 people. It's like sitting in a room, like for a startup. And the client manager apparently said to the principal, after the principal asked what it's good for, oh, it's great for everything.
So generic.
And it's great for everything answer. That's to the principal to say, oh yeah, this is one of those companies overselling. There's like a sales company, guys. This is I don't like their approach. It's very, it's too much in the face. Let's skip that one. And I'm like that's a 22-year-old student on a part-time job who was trying to be part of a journey of a startup, spoke to a client and was excited about the product the company's working with, and sat and shared that excitement. It didn't mean to say that this is a wonder pill. It just wanted to say that it's great for sleep, it's great for energy, it's great for recovery because it's personalized to you. Like, Vadim, sorry.
Ruthless.
Vadim, sorry. Yeah, we can't continue. There's no way. He said, don't even bring it up anymore.
Oh, God.
Interesting. But again, right now, I came back, just like I told you. I learned, hey, if men will be ready when they're ready, don't. Same thing here. Don't oversell. We're not a wonder pill. 70% of your health is nutrition. Then it's activity and sleep. And then let's look into mental well-being. Let's look into supplementation. Let's look into all the other things that are out there.
Yeah.
Right? We are just a very, very small part of your journey. We can become very important, especially when you need more. Like if you are performing, if you're trying to get to the next level, then we might be the missing piece. But we're not that foundation.
Yeah, you're not going to replace good sleep or replace food. But people want a quick fix. This is a problem.
Everybody wants a wonder pill.
Tell me, do people come to you and tell you like, I've been taking so-and-so, for some reason I'm not losing weight, or I still feel, and they're like, okay, cool. So tell me about your lifestyle.
Worse. That's
it's so annoying.
No, this part I get, right?
Yeah.
This part I can deal with. This part is a conversation. I had people who went from 1 month, so from starting point to in 6 months, all 50 blood markers optimized. Perfect. Body is performance ready. Come with me, I'm canceling. I'm like, you are the poster child of Bioniq. They're like, I didn't feel a difference. I'm like, but your blood marks, like, yeah, but I wanted to feel a difference. I'm like, but you can see, and you're like, yeah, that's great, but I thought I'm gonna feel different about it. And you're like, makes absolutely no sense. But as a company, you understand that there's subjectiveness. Sometimes objectiveness is not enough. Sometimes that's just the case, and you just go through it. And this is the moment where you let go, and then the cohort will come back up because they go into the market, they stop either taking it or they try and start taking something else, and then they realize there's no substitute for it. And then at some point, we always see it as our cohorts. Once they go down, there's 3, 6, 9 months later, they start growing again because people go into the market and they're like, you know what? I come back. And the people are like, how long should I take Bioniq? Or like, how long do you plan on eating well and sleeping health? Like how long do you plan on, looking after yourself? There's never gonna be a time we need Bioniq less than now. Like you will always have to support your body, and the older you get, metabolism gets worse, absorption levels gets worse. You need more support for your body, so it's normal.
Yeah. You know, it's quite frustrating because I see this a bit with I have a program, and in that program you get a lot of people that are not in tune. Like, it's hard with you especially because it's what's happening inside, and the only way a lot of people are going to understand it is if they see the data and the numbers.
And then still not enough for
And
some.
it's still not enough for some because they want to, like, the aesthetic version or how they feel, it has to be so obvious to some. They're not in tune. So I think that part must be really hard for you to educate people on how important the numbers are. It doesn't have to feel a certain way. It just keep the numbers this way, and you're going to be good for a long time. I think that's quite important.
The problem is also people. When do you start supplementation, right? People start supplementation when they're trying to lose weight. They try supplementation if they want to have better sleep. They want to have more energy.
Get pregnant.
So they come to you, most of the time, they come to you with something that they wouldn't be better at. But they take supplements for weeks and months. People forget that in the beginning, they were sleeping bad. Now they're sleeping good. But now they take sleeping good for granted, and they forget the connection between why they start sleeping good now. Because it's been for weeks. They don't make that connection. So people, that's going to move on. So it's also important, the feedback loop side of things is like, hey, remember why you started. Where are you today? Do you think there's something changed in your lifestyle that might have impacted that part? But I don't see that anymore. I don't feel as good. But do you sleep better? Yeah. Do you feel stronger? I do. But that's how it's supposed to be. But I'm not Superman. I'm like, but you used to be sluggish.
Yeah.
And now you're good. So that's like, it's a progress, just takes time.
It takes time. Yeah. So I also noticed that you had said that you went to the U.S. market quite late. You started in Europe, right?
Yeah.
And you said that somebody told you, I forget who now, that because your success in Europe was actually
the worst thing that happened
to you.
Fully
Talk
agree.
us through it.
So we're 4 or 5 years in. There's for every business, there's a thing called the death valley. Death valley is when you're doing between $2 to $5 million a year, which is you're too big to close and too small to care. It's just like, you're just not there yet, right? But if certain markets make 2.5, it's like 2 to 5, and then you have several markets that make 2 to 5. So like it starts accumulating and becomes like, oh, it's not that bad because you have several resources, several regions. And then I meet a couple of years ago this VC from the Silicon Valley, and he's like, yeah, that's horrible. I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, yeah, you probably need to close all that down. I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, yeah, I've never met a company who was successful in Europe to then become really successful in the US. The only companies who were successful in the US is the ones who failed in Europe, pivoted and did something else, or who closed down the businesses in Europe and then started from scratch in the US. He's like, if I could choose right now, if you had 2 million revenue in Europe and 20,000 in the US, or just 20,000 in the US, I would prefer if you would just have 20,000 revenue in the US. So they were so adamant about the fact that anything that you do outside the US market is just opportunity, is a waste of opportunity. It's an opportunity cost that you cannot handle, and it takes away from the big prize. And
what is it that you're spending so many, you're allocating a lot of resources in Europe?
Resources, time.
Okay, and then you can focus more on US.
Not even money, it's just resources and time. The moment you don't think about the US is the moment you're missing out. The multiples in the US is 3, 4, 5 times higher than anywhere in Europe. I can do a 10x multiple, I get a 3x in Germany.
And Germany it's a big consumer market. Like they are happy to buy,
52% of the global supplement consumption is, as I said, $252 billion, and 52% of that is being bought in one single country in the US. So one country buys more supplements than the whole world combined. And people, if you go to any drugstore in the US, as you probably know, like there's aisles and aisles full of supplements. Like people are just completely overwhelmed with that. Just like, people can't stop. And 77% of all Americans take supplements daily. So
how many?
77% adult Americans take supplements. 77%.
Wow.
It's part of their, I lived in the US, you lived in the US, I lived there for 5 years. It's completely part of their routine.
So how has it changed for you when you entered the US market?
Oh, we blew up.
That's where?
We blew up. There's 3 reasons why we blew up. Maybe 4. I think the number one reason why we got to the point that we could actually scale was my ego finally shut off. So me being this big corporate boss wanted to run a big sexy company, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna I don't know, I'm going to build the ecosystem of health, or I'm going to be the biohacking platform. I was like, I'm going to do everything, but I can't just be a supplements company. Like that's, my ego screams for more. So for way too long, I was trying to be something that we're not. And I was trying to be good at a lot of things and being the best at something. So probably 2 years ago, I was like, you know what? It's impossible. You can't succeed unless you're really, really good at one thing only. And until you get that thing perfect, don't waste your time. So around 2 years ago, we said, yeah, we're a supplement company. We're a personal supplement company based on blood testing markers. That's it. Like we're going to be the best at this. Nobody's going to beat us at this. That happened then. Then we started integrating all markets that we have. We're on 12 markets. We said, we don't have 12 markets anymore. We have one product for all markets. So we completely abolished all the markets. There was no more localization. There was nothing more. There was no different prices for different markets. We had people here complaining that it's cheaper in the UK, and the UK complaining it's cheaper in Germany. Like there was whole issues. We said, okay, we're one product. We are one market, which is global. And then the breakthrough happened. We accumulated data points where we're like, now we can launch the second product, which does not require the blood test. When we had that ready, we then took the second product to the US market, and the US market was ready for that product. And we went from, again, I think we grew 9x in the last year.
Wow.
From December, like literally this week last year was when the rocket started.
That's awesome. Wow. Okay. You also have a lot of collaborations with like high profile people. How did that?
We don't have.
Not investors, actually.
So this is the fun part. I realized
the assumption.
people don't. We would love to, but we would never be able to afford any sort of collaborations that we have.
Yeah, I misspoke. It wasn't collaboration. It's
No,
investors.
I love the fact that you misspoke, because everybody comes to me like, oh my God, this is so great. You have a collaboration. I'm like, I don't
Yeah, they think that they're brand ambassadors, but they're not.
We have no. What we have is, if you see somebody taking it, it's A, he's been taking it for years and decided to become public, or B, in the case of Cristiano Ronaldo, who's been using Bioniq since 2022, we received a call at the end of last year. Before, there's a couple of things here. Number one, he's been using the product for 3 years. No marketing, no outreach, organically. So he came to the product organically through Diogo Dalot, another player who's been using Bioniq beforehand, who introduced him to it. So thank you, Diogo.
Seriously.
Yeah, great assist.
That's so awesome.
Then Cristiano, after using the product for several years, this team reached out to discuss about the goals and plans of Bioniq, and became interested in being part of the journey as an investor and shareholder. And then we as a team, after agreeing to terms, realized we need to make sure we need to be prepared for what's going to happen after we publicly announce it. So the number one thing that we did is we started improving our fulfillment center. We grew by 8x. So while
Freehand. You knew what was going to happen.
But the crazy thing is, before we announced it, we already grew 7x. So we started preparing for the announcement of Cristiano, but our business organically took over this from a demand perspective because of the things that I said prior, because of the US market. So while we were preparing ourselves for the announcement of Cristiano, the business organically started growing at the paces that we actually thought going to happen afterwards.
Yeah.
And the conversations became so great because everybody's like, oh my God, this is happening organically. And now adding on top of this demand, you then add the highest brand trust value that you can do. Is the person who's the most famous person in the world, most Googled person ever, comes to you, says, I want to be part of the journey. I use your products. I'm going to continue using your products. I'm going to be part of that journey. And now anybody who comes to me now is like, well, what about your product, quality, anything in the market? I'm like, I don't have to say anything anymore.
You don't.
Because the person who is the embodiment of personalized health, embodiment of longevity, of performance, who looks after himself like I think anybody has ever done in this history of sports, right, is your first and foremost credible user, and then also the one who's like behind the scenes part of what's going to happen in the future.
That's 10 times better than a brand ambassador, which you will have to pay an arm and a leg for sure. Right. And more so him in specific. Yeah. Like you said, I mean, he's shameless. Like if somebody tries to put like a Pepsi in front of him, he'll just like, no, I'm not associating to that. So not only does he use the product, but he's asked you, can I come in as an investor? What was that moment like for you?
So because he was a client first, deep down inside somewhere very, very far closed, obviously you always have the dream that this might happen one day. but at the same time, you believe that the experience has to speak for itself.
Yeah.
So you're fully focused. Okay, is the experience there? Is the product development there? Is the features that we introduce better? How's the team working? Plus the logistical aspect is there. This is a huge thing. I mean, we're talking about blood testing data. We're talking about, high performance. We're talking about different continents, different countries. Like how is his experience, the journey, in line, in parallel with what the company is doing? How does it match? How does it work? So when then comes to that point where there's interest there, the one thing that I will never forget, told by the team, was what you need to understand is he gets hundreds and thousands of offers. He doesn't look at anything unless he fully believes in it himself. He understands it. He sees the growth, the potential in it, and he feels aligns with him and his vision. So when we got to this point, I understood that the interest level is genuine and there. And then it was just, that's the rest. The rest was the customer journey part and the feature part. That was the real due diligence, if you want to use those terms. The other part was then, we'll figure it out. We'll make this work. And then, obviously, some of the largest VCs in Europe came in and led the Series B, and now we're looking at the next steps for the business, and it's becoming very, very interesting.
What are the next steps?
So, as you said from the get-go, it's all about educating the market. So we need to educate the market. We need to be front and center. We need to be out there and say, hey, supplementation can be good if it's for you. If it's not for you, be careful. Pill forms, not the best ideal world. Look at alternative solutions. If you're going to try something out, make sure it's high quality. Make sure you know what's on the label. And make sure that at any given moment, you can actually see for yourself, does it work or not? So trust a company that is transparent and that has a feedback loop for you and is incentivized. Most supplement companies have a 95% margin. They take that 90% margin, they put it in ads, they sell you it, and they make a little bit, whatever's left, that's their profit. And then they're going to sell it to somebody else. We're a subscription company. If you don't see results, you cancel. If you can see based on your blood test, so if you're going to try the product, 3 months later you have the blood test, you will be able to see what worked, what didn't work. We're not promising you it's going to be ideal, because I don't know what you can do for the next 3 months. Are you going to work out? Are you going to get worse? Are you going to drink? Are you going to travel? Are you going to sleep? We'll see. But you will understand that the product itself, on the markets that it can actually impact you, will impact you. And we've seen this. We just did one of the largest research. I think we probably did, if not the largest research. We did 404 people over 3 years, Bioniq Pro users. 92% went into optimal levels over 6 months. So this is some of the largest database there is. When other companies talk about data, what they do is they use data from university research from 1970s. The Wisconsin University took 12 people to give them vitamin D at 5,000 IU, and they raised by 12%. Yeah, but it has nothing to do with your business. It has nothing to do with your pills. You don't even know what kind of dosage, what kind of pill form it was. You didn't know what the students were using. Here, it's like, this is the product, this is the timeline, here's the blood test. Don't trust our blood test, do your own blood test, upload your blood test.
So if people want to use your blood test from anywhere in the world, how does it work?
So you upload, so there's an app, and there's a function called upload, so you upload the PDF.
Okay, so you do your own in your local clinic.
Depending on, if you're in the Middle East, for example, we work here like Al Borsch in Saudi, for example, or we have local partners if you want us to arrange it in certain markets.
Okay.
But globally, we had 73 countries last month where people from Rwanda or Brazil are uploading the blood test, and then we ship it to them.
Okay.
So it's very simple.
Yeah, it's simple.
Yeah.
Okay. You said you learned something about money or investing, that there's like dumb money and then there's smart money, and not to invest in something you don't understand.
That was myself. So this is
about you.
Yeah, this is me personally.
Exactly.
This is me completely personally.
Tell me about that. What was the thing that you invested in that you're like, I wish I never...
No, first of all, you don't regret things. I think you learn from things.
Yeah.
I mean, as an angel investor, you're like, again, you sit there, I think, again, you like the fact that people come and ask you for things, for your expertise. And if I look backwards now, I was played and not in a bad way. It was played the same way by a founder, like that I am being like talking to people about talking my vision. So they made me feel good about myself because I was for them that investor. So of course, they showed me the hockey stick, they showed me the vision, they showed me the market is ready for disruption, all those things. Unfortunately, this person was talking about construction materials and to create a marketplace for that. Because apparently construction materials are being sold in the gray area in,
Like black market?
not black markets, but like on the street with no cashier, like cash exchange, all that kind of stuff. And he's like, let's white it all up and then let's put everything on Stripe and let's make sure everything is clear and then we can pay taxes on it and everybody's like happy. And I'm like, this sounds really, really good.
Yeah.
And then like 3 months later, the company's hitting a roadblock and the guy comes to get some, insights and some recommendations. He talks to me about, I don't know how to motivate my truck drivers to drive to the further location to get 2 more pieces. Like I'm sitting there, I'm like, I have no idea
Why am I here?
What are you talking about? Like those bolts don't fit on that thing. We have to order a different. I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
What did I do?
Yeah.
And I'm just sitting there, and I remember it was just not me. It was like me and 2 other friends, and we kind of put money behind it. It was like, and it was for us. It was like 6 figures each. And I'm like, it's not cheap. Like it's not like it was not plain money. It was not like we put some real money. And I'm like, and then the other guy comes in. He's like, I have this great guy. You know what he's doing? He already got this big contract. I'm like, what is it? He's like, it's a loyalty program for banks. I'm like, it's a loyalty program for banks. I'm like, yeah. What do I know about nothing? Yeah, sure, I'm in. So
that too.
Yeah, of course. And that's part of and then the same thing. Something like there's a roadblock, and the person comes to you because they're like, hey, yeah, you should know this, right? Because as a founder, you want the investor to be part of it. So in case it doesn't work out, the investor doesn't.
It's on you too.
Exactly. So he comes to me like, I have no idea what to do. And it's like, and I remember I was reading Warren Buffett's like, I invest things that I understand. I understand Coca-Cola, I understand McDonald's, I understand insurance companies. Like, oh, Tommy Hilfiger, I get Tommy Hilfiger. I don't get it anymore, I sell it. I'm not sure what Apple is doing, I sold Apple. Like, it's like, and I was sitting there like, I think I understand now what he means. Like, you need to be able to add value. You need to be like right now, everything that I do is health related, health optimization related, is something that's already out there where I am trying to educate people that there's a better solution for you. So there's other projects, but all those projects are something where I have built in my last, 6-7 years, connection with research, with doctors, medical institutions, athletes, professional teams, big funds in that space. So whenever you and I talk now, I'm like, I know who to call. I got 5 people here. I got 10 people there. Like I'm coming smart.
Yeah.
And now I'm like, I can add value. And now if you have a roadblock, I'd be like, who do we call? What do we do?
Yeah.
Did you try this?
Strategic as opposed to just money.
Like,
it's not enough.
just like, dude, try harder, call more.
Interesting. So what's your take on performance marketing for a product like Bioniq and on discounting?
Interesting. So I was at Groupon, the #1 discounter in terms of online discounting in the world, which was great until pre-IPO, which was good for 3 months after IPO and was horrible ever since. So I have a huge allergy to discounts. But you need to understand how and where to apply it, if at all. So we made a strategic decision internally 1 year ago. Bioniq Pro has no discounts, no deals, no Black Friday offers. You cannot get anything. It's just not. If it's too expensive, then the chance that you will adhere to it and you will invest in it and you will follow it is already so low that you're probably not the right target audience. So Bioniq Pro has no discounts. Bioniq Go. Bioniq Go is a product where I am trying to educate you what's out there in the market, what you might not know. I need you to entice it. Bioniq Go has a welcome discount. If you come in on the website, welcome 33, you get 33% discount on the first month. Why is it there? Because I'm trying to open up the accessibility to the product for you to experience the alternative to what's in the market. This is not about me making sure you're dedicated. This is about me opening up a little bit of your...
Making it comfortable for you to try.
Exactly. So this is the way I look at it. So you see it, I understand it, it's necessary. Performance marketing for the US market has worked brilliantly. It's possible. Huge competition, incredible difficult to get in. Because we're a subscription product, we have something that they don't have. I can absorb the fee to attract you as a customer acquisition cost, because I understand that if the person tries the product, the chance that they will stay with us for longer will allow me to make the money back that I invested in acquiring you. So that works for me. If I had a different kind of product, probably wouldn't work.
Give me an example of a different product that you don't think would work.
If I would sell omega-3 for £30 with a margin of 60%, and I would have to pay 65% for you to acquire because the US market is so competitive and there's so many omega-3s, then I would have to reduce my quality to improve my margin from 60 to 75%, and I will start selling you product that is not just not good, it might really be bad for you. And then you're in the thing, you can't move the product with the high quality ingredients, so you have to move it with the low quality ingredients. And I'm just the same guy as just complained about you the prior. So performance marketing only works when your product has, it's called stickiness, when the retention is there, because it actually works.
And because it's a subscription model, like you know
of
that.
Course.
Interesting. Okay.
But the subscription model is something that was the year 2 decision. We used to sell it at 3 months packages. I always tell people, if we would have not switched subscription model, Bioniq would not exist today, because COVID would have killed it. When COVID hit, because back then we only had one product, which was blood test based, nurses were not allowed to go to people's homes. For several months, people could not get their nurses, so couldn't do the blood tests, we couldn't send them new supplements. Because we had a subscription, people received supplements based on the previous blood test, and they said, yes, keep me rolling, and it was like supportive. So it got us through COVID.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you came up with Go because of COVID? Because of
No. So Bioniq Pro was the blood test one.
Yeah.
A year in, we decided to do subscription.
Okay.
We stayed through it. Go was always the goal, but we didn't have enough data points for it.
Okay.
We'd had to accumulate enough data points for it.
Yeah.
We always knew Go was going to be, like when we started the company, we knew one day we're going to do personal supplements without the actual blood test, based on the data we already had.
When we have the data.
Yeah. That was always the plan.
I know that you said it's very important for you to remember that you're going to focus on what you do best, and you don't want to do too much.
Yeah.
But you have this data, and it's gold.
Yeah.
What you plan to do with the data long term?
So this is the shiny red object, right? The shiny red car thing. I understand the opportunities and potential, but it's too early for us. There is an aspect here that you can go into different directions. This is the aspect you can go into pharmaceuticals. There's the aspect where you can go
government, anything. Loads.
Let's stay from there. But I think the next step for us, where we do not change the product, but the product itself has a bigger probably impact, is employee benefits. So what we're doing right now is probably the largest integrator of wellness practices for corporates, has onboarded us as the official partner it's probably the biggest company in the world that's doing this, which onboarded a month ago. And they're now starting integrating us into their largest clients. So now the employees will have regular checkups and support mechanisms supported by Bioniq.
It's through corporates or the insurance companies?
No, it's through the corporates. It's through corporates. Insurance company is the next step. So we're already covered in the US by HSA, so the health savings account. So people can use the HSA account to purchase and write off part of Bioniq in America, which a lot of people are using, which is great. So everybody wins. Insurance companies would cover the blood test or part of the blood test. Insurance companies still don't cover the supplements, but given the changes and people understanding the impact of a supplementation, we think this is going to change soon too.
I mean, technically speaking, if you're healthier with if they were to cover the supplementation fees, they could save themselves a lot of money with people getting sick down the line. Like,
that's me preaching. Unfortunately, nobody wanted to listen to this, but right now there's a shift. And the shift happens very simple. You know, our very first corporate client ever, it was fun. It was HR director started using our product, loved our product, went to the boss. Boss started using the product, loved the product. HR director said, I want it for the whole company. The boss said, great, but let the insurance company pay for it. HR director called the insurance company. They're like, we have never heard of Bioniq. This is 2019. I meet with them, like, this is what we do. They're like, yeah, we can't cover the supplements. I'm like, can you cover the blood test? Like, yeah, I think we could. So they start covering the blood test, and then there was a copay on the supplements. So same thing.
Yeah.
Once somebody up there will realize the importance and the impact, this is when it's going to be covered and supported and co-paid and all that stuff.
Yeah.
It just takes time.
That's why it's tricky for you, because you have to educate everybody, like the insurance and the corporates and the people.
Yes.
And so like as a first mover, it's on you.
It's on me. And many companies actually don't have the benefit of first mover. The first mover advantage is, if you look at, I remember I was in media and video platforms. The video platforms who started too early, who paid all this infrastructure and tried all get ahead, were the ones who died because their investments were never can be recouped. And then, then all those data centers came along, and then you can never put everything in the cloud. You don't have to do the CDNs yourself anymore. You don't have to put 300, 400 million in hardware. And they're like, hey, we're just going to take those 300 million and just buy licenses and buy the movies. So it's a little bit the situation here. We're the first mover. We're educating. The good thing with us is proprietary data. And then, of course, when you have people like Cristiano coming on board, we're like, hey, this is the name, like personalized supplementation based on blood markers, Bioniq. That's it. And we understand that we are now the thought leader, and why it's so important to surround ourselves with strong partners, because then you build this ecosystem, not as Bioniq it's yourself, but with your partners together.
Yeah.
And that's how you integrate.
What's your plan for the region?
There's big plans. There's very big conversations happening last probably almost a year now. I've been living in this region for almost 4 years. I've been loving this in the region. We opened up one of our offices here in DIFC. So our headquarters in London, but one of our offices here in DIFC. And I think our footprint here in the region will very soon be even bigger.
Really? Saudi?
100%. So Saudi, we've been in Saudi for 2 years. We've been strategic partner with Al Borj, which is one of the largest, if not the largest laboratory network in GCC, but also in Saudi. But Saudi is also, there's a lot of very interesting things happening. Again, the reason why I'm smiling is because
you can't talk about it yet. I know, I can imagine. Yeah. Okay.
But you'll read the news soon and be like, that's
what it was. I'll just plug it in the episode. All right. I'm going to ask you a final question. Yeah. The show is called What They Don't Tell Us. Yeah. And I know that, all your experiences through Groupon and as a basketball player and your injuries and all of that stuff that you went through, nothing happens by accident. It all leads you to a certain point, right? Even when you feel like, why am I doing this role? It ends up leading you here. Now, in your situation now and the things you know, okay, what could you tell me that you wish you would have known before, but you know now? What don't they tell us?
Okay, so there's this thing that you keep on seeing in your reels on Instagram where like those super successful people, founders of billion-dollar companies always tell people, if I would have known what it would have taken for me to get here, I would have not done it. So the Nvidia founder, who's like a $1 trillion company, is like multi-billion, it's like, if people would only know what it took, like, and you're listening to this, you're like, yeah, of course you say this, you rich, like whatever, like, right? You're like just sitting there like, so the thing that is the following. And I'm sure entrepreneurs come here and talk to you about this. The one thing that I experienced is, it's the most miserable part. You don't sign up for this. You don't understand what entrepreneurship is. You don't understand the sacrifice you need to do. But sometimes it's also a good thing. So what I'm going to say is, so you're in a corporate job, pays well, surrounded by people, you have a high title, people like to be around, associated with you. You think you have a lot of friends. Try your own business. I tell people, like, I had 300 or 400 people at my birthday giving me gifts, $500, $1,000. I have at least so many people I can go for dinner who would fight me for the bill, get wine bottles for a couple $100 each. Let me try them to ask them once to buy Bioniq for $75. They would look at me like I'm a beggar. They would never think about buying any product that you do. You would realize really, really quick who the people who are around you are the ones who associate with you, support you, who have you back, who care about you, who believe in your vision, right? So number one is if what they don't tell you is it's such a lonely road, and the people who actually really care with you, it's not even five hands, like it's not even one hand. It's a couple people. Like you lose the acquaintances first, then you lose the friends that you thought are friends, then you lose your business partners or the people used to back you because they're like, what do you do now? Selling vitamins? Like you used to be like this big public traded CEO, all this. Then the money that you saved up living your lavish life kind of starts running dry. And the reason why it's running dry is because the business that you started to do is starting to cost you more. I remember when I started Bioniq, for the first couple of months, I didn't realize that there was a payroll. Like, that's that. And then you have like 20 people, 30 people, and then everybody has a salary, but you have no income. And then you're like, oh, I need to buy equipment, but you have no income. And then you have to, and then you're like, I kind of worked for 12 years. And then in 12 years, what you put for 12 years away, you put in a span of less than 2 years, everything on the line. So you go from comfort level, popularity, friends, close friends, stable lifestyle, you risk it all. And now you're here. You have no support system, no friend cycle, no monetary background, and you're like 35. You're like, yeah, kind of feels a little bit, I'm in the wrong place now. And then you get to this point where you're like, okay, I need to raise money. So you go out because you've been to the point where like you can't handle it yourself, and you talk to people and you're like, this is the idea, this is my vision. And people have said, yeah, I love it. And then the follow-up is negative, and then the follow-up is negative, and the follow-up is negative. And you're like, why can't anybody see what I'm doing here? And then like, it really starts to nag on you. It's really like, it crumbles you. And you're like, listen, I've done so much. I've been so good. I've been so smart. And you're like, it's really dark, and it's really lonely. And then you're like, okay, do I want this? Do I need this? And this is the moment where you start doubting everything you do. And let's say you go through this, and you somehow make it out, and you get that seed round, and you get a little bit of external confirmation. And then the next roadblock, it's like something's going to happen. Some legal issue, some competitor, something's going to happen. Some change in your VC strategy. Like something's going to happen, and you're going to stress out again, and you're going to get unhealthy, or you're going to have health issues, or you're going to have personal problems, and you go through this again. And I went through, there were three distinct things, and the reason, I'm sorry for this long
no, I love it.
conversation.
Keep going.
There were three situations, and the last one was a year and a half ago. So not that long ago. So guys sitting here smiling, big valuation, Cristiano on board, talking about the globe. A year and a half ago was one of the situations that I'm going to discuss right now, where you're at the brink of like, am I shutting this down? Am I stopping the journey? Did I waste my human capital, my financial capital, my life capital on this that had no upside or no future? And so the hardest out of all conversations was actually in September of last year. And I got lucky that my very first investor, their managing director became a close friend of mine. He's a little bit older, he's American, so I have a great repertoire with him. I played upstate New York, played basketball in Buffalo. He's from the upstate New York area, so we connect great. So we speak the same language. And he's like, calm, he's like, what's going on? And I'm like, this, and this, and this, and this, and this is wrong. And this is this and this, and funding and issues and problems. And he's like, why are you so calm? He's like, tell me, why are you so calm? And I'm like, you know what? I've been in a situation 3 times before where we're close to just closing it down. And I was always freaking out. And I was always getting like physically almost ill. And I just want to once try this. The 3 previous times when I was physically getting ill to get through the situation, I still got through it, and we still got to the end of the tunnel. It was still light at the end of the tunnel. We still raised the money, or got through, or had the sales, or expanded, or did something. I just want to once be completely calm about it and just trust myself that my preparation, my dedication, my involvement, my energy, my thought process, my intellect, my talent is going to get us through without me trying to actually make me physically ill by being stressed out about the situation. So I'm just going to once try to be completely calm and just believe that the preparation that we put in will carry us through. And it got us through. We closed the round. We got Cristiano on board. We closed the Series B, and then we took off. And that moment, which is probably summer of 2023, this was probably the moment that I wish somebody would have told me that you don't have to portray all your fears every single time to the extreme if you actually put the work in. And if you didn't put the work in, it doesn't matter if you're going to be calm or not, it's not going to work out. So you know for yourself Am I doing the right thing? Trust in yourself a bit more. Give yourself a little bit more credit. Like the whole imposter syndrome that all the founders have, we all have, fake it till you make it, the whole thing. You're in the position for a reason. People trust you for a reason. People follow you for a reason. Give yourself sometimes a little bit more credit and get through it without trying to cause yourself too much damage. I think that was my eye-opening thing that kind of calmed me completely down and changed me also as a person.
That resonates so much. I totally hear you. And I think maybe I'm not as big as you, but in many ways I realize that I know how to handle situations now because I'm like, okay, been there, done that. The first few times, maybe it was panic. I cried. I didn't know what to do about it. It's happening again. Okay, less panic. And then by the third or fourth, you're like, what's my panic going to change? It's not. So let me just put my head down and work and, get out of it.
You know Tim Ferriss?
Huh?
Do you know Tim Ferriss? Tim Ferriss?
Yeah, of course.
One of the reasons I started Bioniq was Tim Ferriss for our body. When he was like, I'm checking everything and I do everything. What I do, I monitor. And he's like, he had a book for our work week beforehand. And he's like, I was overworked for 10 years. And then one day I just realized, what's the worst thing that could happen to me? And I said, the worst thing that happened to me is I go bankrupt in the US. I lose all my capital, my capabilities. I'll have to move to Thailand, live on a beach, work in a bar, and surf during the day. And I'm like, and I realized
so bad.
That's not that bad. And the moment I calmed down, business took off. I made
I love it.
The moment I think when you put everything in perspective, like I'm a fortunate person. I'm happy to be here. I feel great about everything. This will be fine. Like we'll get to it.
I also feel like when you put the energy out, like sometimes I don't even think it's necessary to complain. Like if someone asks, how's work? Like, yeah, it's good. It's a bit tough. It's fine. I'd rather do that than waste the energy because it's so time consuming and there's a lot of energy that goes into like your thoughts alone, let alone if you say them out loud.
Yeah.
So sometimes I think like it's so unnecessary to even say it unless you're actually asking for advice or help for somebody. But sometimes it's just best to like think it through and just do the job to get out of it.
So physiologically, it takes more muscles to look sad than to look happy.
Yeah.
So it's harder on your body to be disappointed than just to be happy.
Yeah.
Just again, this, and I don't want to be that guy who sits here like, oh, now that you like on the right track, shares those stories. Again, all I'm saying is they're gonna be tough times, and don't overexpose yourself. Because that overexposure, those extra 20% that you went into this dark place will not change the outcome. It will not be the difference. The difference will be, are you disciplined? Did you prepare? Did you build up in the previous 15 to 20 years your network, your capabilities, your skill sets? Is your team strong enough? Or maybe you picked the wrong thing. What you're doing is not the right thing. I had those conversations with close friends who stopped talking to me for months, for years, who couldn't look me in my eyes and then came back after they closed it and failed and said, I couldn't handle it back then. I felt like you wouldn't believe in me or you didn't believe in me. And I'm like, I believed in you. I just told you the things that you needed to hear from somebody. Unfortunately, it had to be me. Or there's me where I'm saying, you know what, you're on the right track. It's going to be really, really hard. It's going to be really dark. You're going to lose a lot of people. Believe me, I've been there. Just hang in there. But you need to have those conversations.
You know, you said something about the friends not being the ones that are the first people to buy. And I always wondered why.
So,
like, none of my friends watch my podcast. None of my friends buy my product. And it's always the strangers that are more supportive. I'm like, well, why is that a thing?
Okay, there's a couple of things. Same thing. Like one-to-one, same thing. I believe it's because they didn't know you, they discredit what you're building. I think the proximity takes away the specialness of what you're doing.
Yeah.
They're like, well, if she can do it, if that's so special, well, first of all, I could probably do it better. Or why didn't I come up with that?
Yeah.
Or I'm like, I had somebody, a person that we really like, traveled to get a birthday together. I'm not going to bankroll your business. Statement, straight up. I'm not going to bankroll your business. I'm like, this is a product that my parents use. This is a product that I use. This is a product that the leading health institutions in Germany and Austria have checked for 6 months and implemented into their regimen for their clients. This is the product that some of the world's most famous athletes are using. I don't need your bankroll. I'm trying to explain to you that there's a product in the market that benefits you cognitively and physically based on proven science from Switzerland on Olympic athletes. I'm not asking for a handout here, buddy. And he's like, I'm not trying to bankroll business. That's how it works. So Alex Hormozy,
Yeah.
he has this thing that
I love him, by the way.
he has this thing if you want to give an entrepreneur a birthday gift, buy his product and leave him a review.
100%.
Every single birthday I have, I want to post this, but I don't want to post it because I don't want to feel needy. But every
that's
single
so true.
birthday, I just want to be like, hey guys, if you want, I don't need anything. Thank you so much. I love all my friends. I don't need more alcohol bottles at home. I'm not drinking them. I'm completely fine. If you want to do something, buy my product, leave me a review.
100%.
You already have my product, buy it for your friend, for your children, for your parents, leave me a review. You would make me so happy.
100%.
But they don't understand that. No, they're going to give me something that I don't need.
But you know, I do feel the people that I know that have products and know the value of reviews and testimonials, they bake the effort.
Yeah, but that's the reason you hang out with entrepreneurs. That's why you hang out with entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
Because when I ask you, I don't feel needy. I don't feel like, hey, I'm supportive.
Yeah.
Dude, I've been there.
Yeah.
Like one review can change a lot of things.
Yeah.
And then like this one review can take it to the next one. Like again, you end up in this situation, the dominoes start much, much earlier.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Beautiful. Honestly, I can go on and on. You're very cool. I love having a conversation with you. So thank you so much for your time.
By the way, I saw your process beforehand. I knew this was going to go well. So I love the image beforehand. I knew we were going to hit it off. Thank you so much.
Where can people find you?
So it's bioniq.com and Bioniq CO on Instagram. And I'm Vadim _Bioniq.
Amazing. Thank you, Vadim.
Thank you.
Pleasure.
Cheers.